Next speaking, we've got Sara Henderson. I met Sara when she was working for the Bernie campaign here in Georgia. She was a Bernie staffer, and she is now the policy director at Common Cause Georgia, which is an organization that's trying to rein in the influence of money in politics and also try to deal with issues of gerrymandering and whatnot. But I'll let her tell y'all more about that. So please join me in welcoming Sara Henderson.
Yay, so good to see all of you guys out here. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of Common Cause, the organization. Okay, a few people. Like Nick said, my name is Sara Henderson. We are actually, Common Cause is a national organization. I work here in the state of Georgia. I'm the lone staffer for Common Cause, trying to do all the government watchdog stuff by myself, so it's really fun. We are focused primarily this year on gerrymandering. Legislative redistricting. Does anybody know anything about that? It's like so not sexy, so we don't talk about it, right? But it's absolutely the foundation of political extremism. So let's talk about extremism for a minute. How did Trump get elected?
Yes.
Right? How did Trump get elected? It wasn't just because one day people woke up and said, you know what, that guy sounds like a real winner. We're going to vote for him. It's because of decades upon decades of gerrymandered districts. At the congressional level, at the state house level, at the state senate level. What happens is you have a situation where legislators go in and they're like, oh, we have the census, right? Happens every 10 years. We need to redraw our legislative districts. So who draws these districts? Does anybody know?
The party.
Yeah, the party. The party in power under the Gold Dome. Does that seem like maybe a little bit conflict of interest? Anybody know who drew the maps for the state of Georgia in 2011 after the last census?
Republican Party in power.
A lobbyist firm.
Oh, wow.
You probably know their name, Troutman Sanders. They have over 100 registered lobbyists at the state capitol. They were contracted to draw our congressional and legislative districts in the state of Georgia. Now, if you call the state capitol and you say, hey, who drew our maps in 2011? They're going to say, well, we did. But we have it under good authority, because we've seen the checks, that they were contracted. A lobbyist organization, a lobbyist group was contracted to draw these legislative districts. Clear conflict of interest, right? This is why we have such partisan extremism in the state of Georgia. If you go tomorrow, the legislature will be in session, you're going to see some crazy bills. Guns on campus, right? RFRA. Who wants these bills? The average Georgian does not have any appetite for those bills. They want bills about education. They want bills to try to eliminate poverty in their areas. They want bills to try to help pave the roads. They're not interested in all of these social issues. But when you have a legislature, a party in power, who can contract a lobbyist firm to draw districts, you end up with partisan extremism. Because what happens is these folks only have to play to their primary voters, which is their base. It's less than 10% of the 58,000 people that live in each state house district. That's all they're playing to. Let me throw this statistic out at you, which is probably not going to be surprising. 82% of the seats, both Senate and House, under the Gold Dome last year in 2016, 82% of those seats were unopposed. Why? We don't have competitive districts, right? You're drawing districts for incumbent advantage, you're playing to the party, and you make the state look like the state of Georgia. We're probably about 47% Democrat. You wouldn't know it, right? You wouldn't know it from going to the state capitol. You certainly wouldn't know it from our members in Congress up at Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., because they only have to answer to their primary voters, which is their base. Nobody else. So we don't have competitive elections. We have tremendous amount of incumbent advantage. And let's be frank, let's be honest, the Democrats did this too. My organization is nonpartisan, so we don't participate in any party politics or anything like that. We call out Dems just like we call out Republicans, etc. etc. We believe the only way to bring democracy back to the country is to draw fair districts. To have an independent commission who is not under the thumb of the governor or the state legislature, who will draw these districts in a way that will actually represent the people who live in them. So right now we have this really bad bill that I've been fighting for like the last week. Comes up, this totally awful chairman in the reapportionment committee in the House says, I'm bringing this bill and I'm going to change 9 House members' districts. They're all Republican, except for one. There's only one Democrat. So Democrats, don't be mad, right? We're changing Republican districts. Interestingly enough, 3 of the districts in question that are proposed new district lines move whites, pack whites, into Republican districts. Because why? Because they voted for Hillary last year. And they want to protect their seats. Crazy, right? So I've been fighting this, no public comment in the hearing. We didn't even have maps to view. We didn't even have a bill to view on this. We just knew something bad was happening, show up at 5 o'clock, right? The chairman shut us down. He said no public comment. The hearing was 5 minutes. And you have these people who are going, the heck, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to live in another district. Why? Because of the color of my skin. And people don't pay attention to this, but it is absolutely the root of the problem. In DC, in our state, in states all over the country. It's not just Georgia, right? We've got cases, Common Cause does, pending in Maryland, Wisconsin, North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Arizona, New Mexico. It's all across the country. And the Republicans had the right idea. Well, the right idea, at least to them. They sat down and they looked and they said, how are we going to gain control? And they said the only way to do it is through redistricting. And so they set out and put millions and millions of dollars into redrawing the districts as they gain control of the state legislature. So that you would have 82% of these seats that were completely unopposed. Every single person in this room, every single person that I talk to should be completely irate that democracy no longer prevails in this country. And part of the reason why is because we have this crazy process. Do you guys remember, the Voting Rights Act, right? 1965. Hopefully, for this, right? Lyndon Johnson. The VRA has Article 5 in it. Part of Article 5 says any state or any district that has a history of discrimination has to go through, their maps have to go through the Department of Justice to be pre-cleared before you can actually institute them and the people living there can vote and all that stuff. 2 years ago, the Supreme Court struck down the pre-clearance. You guys probably heard of that. Part of the VRA. They said, you know what? It's unconstitutional. This was a case that Georgia was involved in, Alabama, Texas, several other states. They said it's unconstitutional. Congress needs to come up with a new algorithm to determine past discrimination. Ironically, the very same week, that story about Paula Deen broke in Savannah. Would you guys remember that? Probably not. You're like so young. Where she had discriminated against employees in her restaurants. And I was like, really, Supreme Court? For real? Clearly you have not been to the South because this is still happening and it's rampant, right? So we have no check on our maps. When the census comes up in 2020, they'll get the data in 2021. The state capitol, the legislators will start drawing the maps. They can draw them any way they want. We have no check on that system. And we can litigate, we can fight all of this stuff in court, which we're winning, which is a good thing, but it takes years to actually get that stuff changed. So please, if you picked up a program, open it up. On the left side of the page is all of our contact information for Common Cause. We have a rally this weekend. Check out our Facebook page. It's up there. I have business cards in my purse. I didn't bring any other information. I apologize. I would love to get some of you plugged into this. If you're looking for a way to make a change and make a difference in a nonpartisan fashion, just for good governance, I urge you to reach out to me and let me connect you with our group and get you started in this process. We need more voices who are concerned about the absence of democracy. Because I'm telling you, and we can all see it unfolding, right? With Trump. We can see this unfolding. We are going to lose all of our ability to actually participate in our government if we don't reel in the reins of these elected officials. We have to hold them accountable. We've been working on the city hall, bribery stuff, all of these things. All of those things are a result of the foundation, which is gerrymandering. And political parties, been doing it for decades. I'm sure they'll probably continue to do it if we don't institute some sort of commission that's independent from the government that can oversee redrawing of these districts. So it's not always the most sexy, cool thing to talk about, but if you're into democracy and you love your country, then this should be at the forefront of all conversations that you're having, because it is imperative. And we're going to continue to see people like Trump. We're going to continue to see bills like guns on campuses and RFRA and all this bullshit, pardon my French, probably being recorded, at the state capitol, because we have these terrible partisan people who are up there who have to bring meat back home to their base. So I'll be hanging out. I'm going to listen to Khalid and the Young Dems slate talk. So if you'd like to get a card, I would love to give you my information and plug you in. I can take one or two questions.
Yeah.
Okay, if you guys have any questions.
Sure. Now the federal congressional districts, are those also drawn up by the state legislature
Yes.
as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Which is why the Democrats lost John Barrow in Athens a few years ago, because they drew that district all the way down to Savannah and picked up a whole lot of Republicans.
That's great.
Thank you for coming. What you're saying is really important, because it wasn't until I believe it was last year, and I felt so ashamed of myself. And I was watching True TV, and I came across this show called Adam Ruins Everything. And I don't know who's ever seen that show. And he explained gerrymandering, and I was like, wow. So that's how a whole a party can come in and win, because they know and everything. And I felt like if I'm not informed, then there's so many other people who don't know this at all, because because voting is really, really important, but you need to know what you're really voting for and how it can affect you back at home. So, I was just like really thinking, I was like, okay, the TV show is trying to establish that and show that, but no, not many people are watching that. And I would ask so many people, do you know what Adam Ruins Everything? Like, what is that? What is that? I'm like, oh my gosh. It needs to be like a mass media way for the whole America to know this, because if the whole America knows this, then we're going to be complaining, and then they're going to have to change regardless. They're going to be like, oh, you know what? These people are complaining. These people they're fighting this. They want this to happen. But when they keep bringing up the stupid issues of guns and this and to distract us and not issue things that are really important, it derives the whole main focus of on electing the right people to be in office.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Common Cause contends it's not about a D or an R after your name. It's about good governance, right? And we want the people to know what's happening in their districts and not be chosen to be drawn into a particular district based on their political leanings or the color of their skin or the gender they identify with or whatever. We should just be, elected officials should not be choosing their voters. Voters should choose elected officials, right? Somewhere we sort of got that backwards. Maybe one more question?
Yeah, we got one more.
I just want to clarify before I ask.
Sure.
Did you say at the start that Trump won because of gerrymandered districts?
Yes. Partisan extremism, which led to his election.
I checked every vote count after you said that, and he every single state election was just like whoever won that one by more votes. So.
Well, what I'm saying is you have a candidate or have a president like Donald Trump and his extreme partisan views due to the fact that we have become a partisan country, which the underlying sort of undergirded idea or reasoning behind that is because of gerrymandering. You would not have politicians that have to play to their base so hard or be pulled left or right so hard if they didn't think that the only people that they were responsible for representing were their party base. And that's what you have now. And that's part of the reason we become so polarized. There's no state law or code that says that they can't just go in and change it for whatever reason. So yeah, people like Trump get elected because of the polarization, and the polarization comes from gerrymandering. I wanted to say something else on that one point.
And can I just throw, and to be clear, though he won certain states, 3 million people more voted for someone else.
That just means that the states that Hillary won, she won by a larger margin. So,
Right, but at the end of the day, like 3 million more people voted for a different person, but someone else won, and it's because we have a system that is designed to suppress the will of the popular vote for the will of a chosen vote, right? So 3 million more people voted for someone else, but that's not the person who's the president of the United States. Like that's problematic.
So, to tie that, like, can you verify too that it's the lines that help determine what actually ends up becoming the electoral votes, correct? Electoral votes are an amalgam of district lines, correct?
Well, it's the amount of the electoral votes. The amount of electoral votes that a state has is the number of members of Congress plus 2 for Senate. So the district lines don't have a whole lot to do with like how the electors will vote, but it does have something to do with who the elected officials are, since the way they're drawn can be so cockamamie and monkeyed with.
Last one.
Well, it's just a question. Don't state legislators vote people into these electoral seats?
I mean, they change their votes too. Like,
Who votes these people into electoral college for each state? Is it state legislators?
Well, they're actually appointed. They're not voted on, and it's
Well,
a combination.
State legislators, or the governor, like who's appointed?
It's a combination of the executive branch, the governor, and also the legislative branch. So they make recommendations to those people, or who those people should be, and then they're chosen from a list.
The state is more ready. You're gonna have more ready for.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you all for listening.
All right, like she said, her info is in here. Check her out on Facebook or their website. And we got one more raffle drawing. Actually, we got 2 more, but 1 more right now. So get your tickets out.